Hi, this is Kendra with Truest TV. I'm back with another video. This video is going to be a little different today. I'm going back into discussing this topic that I think I did a video a while back about it. But anyway, guys, I'm long-winded. I'll try to make this short. Make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe, and turn on your notifications. Hit that thumbs up and leave a comment below. If the comment is juicy enough, I will do a video posting your comment. So anyway, let's get straight into it. I want to talk about marriage in church. I had a revelation, not a revelation, if you will. And I realized there is like a spirit in the church. Now, I did a previous video where I was going to say there's a homosexual spirit in church. And I do see that in church a lot, like a very homosexual, keep the boys to the boys. It's masked as masculinity, but it's really homosexuality. I do see that in church. And it's like, I wanted to just get into it and how marriage is very rarely spoken about in church. And if it is, it's never truly in a positive light. So I wanted to get into that today. And so I have been to a couple of churches, right, in my years. And I realized there's a reigning theme in church. There is a small minority of couples. Either the couples have been together for years, and they're an elderly couple, or they're a middle-aged couple. But I almost never see newlywed couples who've been married for 1, 2, even 6 months, even 3 to 4 to 5 years. I've not seen any real new couples in churches. I see couples that have been together for years, got a bunch of children maybe, or older couples. But the ratio for couples to single men and women is huge. The gap is significant. And I realize in a lot of these churches, there are little to no marriages. And then I also notice not only is there little to no marriages, but the pastors don't even speak on it. Like, yeah, they'll do sermons about adultery and how that's bad, fornication and how that's bad, homosexuality and how that's bad. But oftentimes, more than not, they're never speaking about marriage. They never promote marriage. It's always a negative. They even talking about adultery and cheating in marriage. And I'm not saying you shouldn't talk about those topics, but they never talk about the blessings of marriage, the blessing of the unity of marriage at all in church. It's never promoted. Almost certainly, you will never hear a pastor say, listen, a man that finds a wife findeth a good thing and obtains favor. Oh, you know what I mean? And he never goes in and delves in and read the story of Ruth, and in marriage in a whole, to show the beauty in it and why it should be done in our communities. Knowing that we have a lot of fornication, knowing that we have a lot of things going on in our community, especially when it pertains to having children out of wedlock. Why is marriage not even promoted, even by pastors who claim to be of God's will? Like, I can see how I can understand if you're telling men to because God speaks highly of abstaining from sex, or abstaining, even if you can abstain from fornicating, and go without sex, and that's highly looked upon. God likes that. But you have a lot of people who can't abstain from sex, who are now just fornicating, and nobody's talking about marriage, and how even the Bible says it's better to get married than to burn with lust. And so people are like, oh, well, you want to be married because you love people. We're not telling you not to go out and find a person that you like, that you will love. We're saying that, why is that not even an option spoken about in church at all? Again, in church, they would rather speak of a man being a eunuch, not in the physical sense, but in the mental sense of abstaining from sex, right? Not in the sense of castration, but mentally, like just abstaining from sex or getting married altogether, than to say, listen, if you can't abstain, because then you leave no middleman. I mean, you leave no other ground. It's either like you're telling these men, And a lot of times they're telling men, don't get married, don't get married. And then the men who can't abstain from sex are like, well, what do I do if I'm not spiritually there to abstain from sex? What do I do? And then the word tells you to get married. Like, I'm not here to preach. I'm not a preacher. I'm just saying the word does tell you to get married if you can't abstain from fornication, right? But I can see why a lot of even Christian men aren't getting married. It's not talked about favorably even in the pulpits. When they talk about marriage, they always talk about adultery. It's almost certain that nobody mentions marriage in a positive light. Period. Why is the book of Ruth not read in the church? It's a part of the Bible. Why is it that the Bible speaks of everything negative, right? Because we want to get right, but there's also positive answers to the negative. And marriage is almost certainly never something spoken about in church. And I'm talking about from no pastor. I've been to enough churches, and some decent, and I've not had one pastor that actually sat down and harnessed in on good, other than Stephen Darby, God rest his soul. He was the only pastor that sat and with his wife favorably spoken about marriage. He's the only one. When it came to any of these other pastors, I mean, not nan talk about marriage in a favorable light, to give some of these young men and middle-aged men and older men some advice on how to abstain from fornication and how they should be a man of God. None of it. They either talking about a way a woman look, dress, anything but marriage. And it's so crazy to me. And I've been to these churches where I've literally seen pastors gatekeep men, almost like I don't even know what to call it. It seemed like a homosexual brotherhood, but I'm gonna mind my business. And I called the church, I don't know. But it just seemed like he was married, but he didn't necessarily want his congregation married. And it was like he was gatekeeping the men. Like, I'm serious. And I've been to a few churches, and in these few churches that I've been to, it's almost had the same theme. They talk about women as Jezebel, always look at the women. Listen, in the church that I went to in the Bronx, this pastor literally said the women of God are easy. And he didn't just mean the Jezebel easy. He meant that a lot of them, and he said it, a lot of them want to be married. So they assume that a lot of these men that come to church come with the same sentiment, right? They assume that these men come with the same idea in mind. So they not all mess, but they will date these men, not realizing that a lot of these men are coming to church to get women because they see it as an easy way to get a woman who is God-fearing. She's trying to be monogamous, but you're not, right? The man isn't trying to be monogamous. He just want his cake and eat it too. He want to make her wifey while he go dib and dabble. And so he was like, they too easy. I would rather you. This is what he said now in church, when he was saying the women, they just want to marry you. They don't sift out. And I agree to some degree. Don't get me wrong. There are Jezebel spirit women in church. But there are some women who go to church, and like, I was silly enough for that. My mother, at first I listened to Stephen Darby when Stephen Darby was like, you don't want to go to church to get a man because a lot of them are preying off demons, right? And I listened to him. I was like, all right, I'd rather find a man in the real world. Like, well, church is the real world, but you know what I mean. So, and then the church I went to was just like, you don't want to be with somebody that is unequally yoked or whatnot or whatever, and blah, 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 and anyway, who haven't been baptized and all that stuff. And so you don't want to be with a man that's not God-fearing. And that's true. But when you think about the men in church, the problem with the men in church is that a lot of the issues is that nobody wants marriage in church, even Christian church. A lot of these men, they want to be like the men in the world. And if they do choose a wife, they want to choose a wife that looks like the women in the world. So it makes it hard for women who are trying to be God-fearing, who are single, who want to get married, because marriage is almost not talked about in a good way. And on top of that, a lot of the men that go to church are very worldly. So it's kind of like you're dealing, it's just crazy, the atmosphere in the church. But my bone that I wanted to pick is, why is it that marriage is almost frowned upon in church? Not that it is, but that it's almost never, it's like taboo to really touch bases on it unless you throw adultery in it. Like, the only time you can talk about marriage is if it has a negative connotation, right? And even when the pastor is married, he's almost promoting the men in the congregation to not be, which is crazy to me, because I would definitely be promoting marriage. Like, but they want to still talk about how many children are being born out of wedlock. Well, maybe if you spoke more about wedlock, they wouldn't be born out of it. Maybe it needs to be a topic as a solution to get down. Nobody's telling you not to go find a person that you like and marry that person that you fall in love with. So all I'm saying is, why is marriage not spoken about? Why is it not talked about how to pursue, how a man is supposed to conduct himself in a marriage, how a woman is supposed to conduct herself in a marriage? How come these scriptures are not being read? That's a part of the Word of God too. It's almost single-handedly being left completely out. And then we wonder why. If we're going to fix the foundation of our community, starting with the church, don't you think that the family is the structure that needs to be, the family is the foundation that needs to be fixed in the church? Because we have all these different, we talk about it, we're quick to, stop, don't Jezebel, your whoremongers, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. We talk about all this negative stuff, but how come we never say, you know what, we need to sit down and talk about marriage today, and the positives of marriage, and why you should get married? This is almost not talked about ever in church, and I want you to understand why you should get married and why it's a good thing. And don't abstain from marriage. Find you the right partner. Tell that person, find you a right partner. Just don't get married. Stop having sex. You know, yeah, you want to throw that stuff in there, but also harness in on why marriage is a good thing for all the men who can abstain from fornication. And no matter what it looks like, if you got kids and she got kids and y'all both single and haven't been married yet, and y'all want to get together and make yourself the Brady Bunch, why not? If you single and she's single and and y'all vibe well, you got good personalities, you're abstaining from sex, you're doing it God's way, right? You're not fornicating, you're not having sex, you're not doing anything, you're not drunkards, you're not abusive, you worked on yourself, you're financially stable. Why are you guys not coming together in holy matrimony and speak on why you should? Why is marriage not promoted in church? Why? If you guys got any answers to this question down below, please make sure you share them. And if you do, if it is an outstanding, answer or comment, I will definitely make a video and post it. This is Kendra with True Us TV. Stay up, stay blessed, and put God first above all else, guys. Peace out. Bye.